Good afternoon, everyone. It is the appointed hour, and I'm going to call this meeting to order and begin by asking Deputy Mayor Keaveney to read our land acknowledgement.
We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. We also recognize the Métis whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. We extend our gratitude to all Anishinaabe and Métis peoples and their descendants, past, present, and future, who continue to care for and inhabit these lands and tend these waters.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And now I just ask you to join me in a moment of silent reflection concerning our agenda today. Thank you. Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest at this time? Seeing none, I just remind councillors that you can declare it at any time that it arises. Announcements. Start with you, Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first announcement is a bit of an update due to our advertised 2 budget days, which were scheduled for the 23rd and 24th. Very recently, it's come to our attention that there is county council on the 23rd. In addition, it's also very important that all of our council attend on those days. So unfortunately, we will not be able to meet on the 23rd. We will continue with the scheduled 24th meeting. We will be kicking off that day with the capital budget, and that's what it was intended to be that day, and then we'll follow up with the operating after that. Budget day number 2 will be on Wednesday, March the 1st. Council is already scheduled in the morning for the standard of care training for under DWQMS for our water system. And then we'll follow that with the second budget day at that. So that's how we've reshuffled things around due to the other will be everything was advertised for the 23rd and 24th out to the public. So we'll have to do a bit of correction on that as it relates to the 23rd. So at this time, I would also like to introduce a new staff member who is here with us at council today. Nathaniel Dodd is our new municipal law enforcement officer, and today is his first day. You'll see there's an agenda item to formally appoint him, but yes, Nathaniel Dodd.
Welcome, Nathaniel. Thank you very much, Rob. Councillors, any announcements today? Deputy Mayor Keaveney.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and good afternoon, everyone. And just one announcement today on behalf of the Rotary Club of Meaford. At the Rotary Thrift Store on February the 21st from 3 until 6 p.m. There's going to be a special event for students, both male and female, who are looking for dresses and suits and so on for the prom. We've had a number of beautiful outfits donated to us. And so any students who might be looking for an outfit for the prom, please do come out to the shop February 21st between 3 and 6. And there's lots of beautiful bargains there to be had. Thank you.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. Very important announcement on Tuesday, February 21st, 5 to 7 p.m. Shrove Tuesday Pancake Benefit Supper. This will be held at the Knox Presbyterian Church. I understand it's a project put together by a number of the churches in town. For more information, you're welcome to call 519-538-1330. Supper will be served 5 to 7 p.m. And I just recently found out that Shrove Tuesday goes back to 600 AD. It's been with us for a long time. A religious gathering, and also rather interesting, the French took particular advantage of Pancake Day, and they call it Mardi Gras. which is translated Tuesday, great, big, and just have to go to New Orleans to find out for sure. Thank you.
And if this were county council, somebody would say, you've got a marvelous memory. Did you have an announcement? No, anybody else? Okay, on then to the public participation portion of the agenda. And members of the public are encouraged to provide council with their comments and their questions. If a member of the public wishes to make a deputation on items on the council agenda or ask a public question, they may do so either in person or remotely via Zoom, phone, or internet. Members of the public wishing to make a deputation or ask a public question must register in advance with Legislative Services by 10 o'clock on the morning of the meeting. You do this by just contacting Deputy Clerk at meaford.ca, or the phone number at the town office is 538-1060, extension 1100. An email with access information will be sent to those who register for remote participation. And a reminder, the public can watch this meeting live via the Municipality of Meaford's YouTube channel at www.meaford.ca/YouTube. So we have some presentations today, and the first, I'd like to welcome Hope Farrell from Meaford Wave for an update. Hope.
And Grace Moore as well.
Oh, and Grace Moore. Thank you very much.
Sorry if that was miscommunicated at all. I am Hope Farrow. This is Grace Morin, and Jessica Shroud could not be with us today, but we are from the Meaford Wave. And basically the Meaford Wave is a collective of local women who want to ignite and unify Meaford. As a fluid group of entrepreneurs, we are able to use our creative energy to bring unique, collaborative, and sustainable features to Meaford through visuals, social media, and special events. Our goals are to unify, collaborate, and revitalize our downtown core to serve our current economic development and our growing population, and support all of our small businesses together. By collaborating between our fellow downtown businesses, it's key for us to be successful for our future. We recognize that we need driven individuals such as ourselves to step up and ignite the flame that Meaford needs. The Meaford Wave also welcomes collaboration from like-minded locals with time, skill, and passion to join us in our goals for our downtown core. With a joint effort, we can create a sustainable future for Meaford. And thank you too for your time. I'm sorry, I meant to open that way. Yeah, so. Yep. Okay. So we have 4 events. So we can kind of start off with one that you may be more familiar with, which is the Meaford Summerfest. It is a family-friendly event. We have the Doors of Meaford. It's art installations that are done live downtown. You've probably noticed the downtown doors have been painted by local artists, and just to help beautify downtown, bring an interesting dynamic to Meaford. And I find for even myself, I'm not the art guru, but having a public space where you can watch art be made certainly made me feel a little bit more welcome to the art community and more comfortable. And then there's also the sidewalk sale, which was and always will remain all totally local, supporting local artisans and creators and other small businesses that might have just opened or might want to showcase if they work from home, anything like that, basically. And then of course, the poutine off competition is all the local restaurants compete for the super cheesy trophy. It got a lot of attention for the Summerfest, which was amazing. Myself, I was kind of an interviewer with a spatula And we did some videos, and with very little marketing money, we spent just $300 on a little bit of marketing to get those videos seen and to, you know, help bring people to Meaford, see what the restaurants have to offer, and the different collaborations between all of us brought in so many people in just one day. Our numbers were about 7,000. We suspected about 6,000 to 7,000 people came to Meaford for July 30th, right? Yeah, July 30th, 2022. It feels weird to say 2023, so.
Yeah, the sidewalk state component was pretty much based on other municipalities. For example, Aurora has a sidewalk sale that draws about 50,000 people in one day, and it's just a great big bash spanning blocks and blocks of Yonge Street. And there's food, there's music, there is retail, all sorts. So yeah, so it's a vital component of the Summerfest. Dog parade, it was an amazing collaboration with Beautiful Joe Park, and they organized it. They are our dream partner. Basically, we tell them, how do you want to get involved? And they go away, they come back, they said, we're gonna do this, and we package it up, and they're in, and we just cross promote our events.
Yeah.
And the car show will be bigger and better this year. We're hoping to close off a couple streets, and we'll see how that goes. There's gonna be vintage, there's gonna be surprises.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we've got a few collaborations as far as the car show kind of up our sleeve, some higher up contacts in the Jeep community. We're hoping for Overlander community as well, and we've spoke to the Agricultural Society, and we're trying to seek out the property that's attached to the curling club to see if we can use that possibly for some camping facilities. Or even just, you know, space, because Overlander, the Overlander community kind of, they come fully equipped. That's their thing that they do. They can pack everything in their vehicle. They have generators and everything in their vehicles. So basically they don't even need toiletries, nothing. They just need a parking spot. So we're kind of in the works with the Agricultural Society in regards to that.
So as you can see, there were a lot of people on the street. The street was teeming with, people enjoying themselves, eating poutine, shopping, and just going in and out of stores. So basically what we would love to have, and this is our wish list, would be amazing to have a tent at Town Square with benches for people to kind of have their poutine and eat their food that they can take out of the restaurants. We would love to start on Friday night with an outdoor movie pop-up, and then theme bingo and bands throughout Saturday, a beer tent hopefully, and possibly a pirate parade on Sunday. So it'd be absolutely lovely to
try and fill up the whole city holiday weekend.
Yeah, make it really happening. So as we kind of go through these photos right here where you can see people enjoying different things, we have given the council and staff a printout of the economic impact, and you can see the numbers for stores have increased anywhere from 30% to 250% on that one single day. And some stores counted traffic coming in and out, and some stores just looked at their numbers. And then, of course, people were super excited. The testimonials we just basically took from social media, just people talking in the threads, and they're probably still there, so you can actually see. And then the art installations that's basically what drew traffic. Apparently, this is done in Italy, and so we've been told, revitalized different villages. And the last page of our handout is the ask. So, what basically that would be for all the festivals that we would love to do happen maybe next year. But for Summerfest, the passports would be anywhere from $600 to $700, signage $400. We would love to have an MC and DJ, and they would pretty much occupy all Saturday.
And both are local, so we've
Both are
sourced out
locals.
Gray Noise Entertainment. And then also
Raw
Raw Dog Entertainment. He's an extremely talented MC, and as far as a DJ, same with Gray Noise. And it's right here in Meaford, you know, supporting some young talent that is up and coming, and also super affordable. They were like, we want to be a part of this. So I think we got a kind of a special rate because we're all Meafordites.
Live music, we were looking at different bands, and just cover bands, basically.
Yeah.
They're fun for about $3,000. Radio ad, we would love to support our local radio station. And then the movie Under the Stars would be about $3,000, and 80s bingo with entertainer about 15. Tent rental is probably the most expensive part, and we're looking at insurance about $3,500.
Yeah.
And social media marketing $400 to $500. So basically, we could now talk about the Frostival. So the idea behind Frostival was actually during summer, the retailers are doing great. This is when we have our people who are
Camping.
camping, or they're here seasonally. They're snowbirds and they're here for the summer. So they're supporting the small businesses, but the shoulder seasons is when businesses have the hardest time. And so for us, the Halloween, the winter festival and spring festival would actually be something that the businesses downtown really need. So we had an idea for a historical immersive experience with posters, the ice snow sculptures by local artists, and we had 4 local artists step up. Frostbites, so that would be a prefix menu for restaurants, and hot chocolate competition. We are now waiting for our 4th coffee shop to open, so that would be interesting to have a hot chocolate throwdown. And then the snow creatures building competition and scavenger hunt, that's actually is what pretty much is happening right now instead of the Frostival. 2 major components failed through, so we decided not to go ahead with it, and instead we packaged it all into Goose Chase. And we're hoping that all of you will download the app and then go ahead and support our small businesses. And do all the variety of tasks and hopefully win one of the Apple prizes that we have. So the Earth Day Festival, the idea behind that was actually inspired by Mr. Tony Bell, who said that the tiny homes are now allowed in municipalities. So the tiny home builders, we have our very first tiny home on, I believe, Cedar Street. And she's my customer, so she would be willing to do a talk on that. There's an amazing wellness community here with, you know, naturopathic doctors and yoga studios and wellness studios, and we would love to hear them talk about their craft and their businesses. Sustainable living and the community gardens and, you know, organic farming, and basically we would invite them all to speak and then just package it as an event. And talks by, and there's so many actually eco businesses in the area that could, you know, vend and have a table under the tent and have workshops. And Halloween, actually, so for us, it's really simple. We structured it just as we did with Easter egg hunt, where we produced the map, and then the public kind of went from store to store and got candy.
Yeah.
And so, and then the Witches and Warlocks walk with the pub crawl. For this year, we're hoping to do more with restaurants, some sort of competition, and then
Gross but delicious.
and then best decorated house competition, and then we're looking at collaboration again with there will be a movie festival, skateboard jam again, the maybe lake plunge, and the zombie walk and more. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, ladies. That's I'd like to open it up if councilors have any questions or comments for you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. And I just want to say you girls make me smile. The 3 of you all have families and businesses. And yet you find the time to collaborate and make these incredible events happen. I mean, Summerfest was absolutely amazing to see that many people downtown and everybody commenting about how much fun it was. And to organize that for $300, you girls could write a book on, on how to do events. But your imagination and your enthusiasm is just so infectious. And we are grateful to you for coming together and for doing what you do for our businesses, especially for our residents, for this whole municipality. You are making downtown Meaford a happy place to be. And I just want to express my complete gratitude to the two of you and Jess, who I know wasn't able to be here today. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank you.
we are hoping that we're hoping that the council and the staff will support us in what we're doing, and we're trying really hard to kind of come to you know, see where we can work with each other, because I believe we have the same goal, especially with Meaford Main Street organization. We're really looking forward to what that will look like. So
Anyone else have a comment, or I just like to add my, sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Just want to comment to say that you ladies really embody that entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that is crucial to economic development in Meaford, particularly revitalizing the downtown core. And what you've been able to achieve with the little resources that you have is a testament to your creativity and pushing your boundaries. And this is what economic is all about when it comes to supporting entrepreneurs. So I want to commend you, and I really look forward to doing our best to support your future events. But keep up the great work. This is amazing. Really
you.
proud of you.
thank you.
Thank you.
And just let me add my thanks. I can't remember the sidewalks looking like they did during Summerfest since the late 1950s. When I first came to Meaford, and it truly was reminiscent of that. Very, very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add there, Ross, with just how you had said that with the sidewalks, when we some people that were more experienced in event planning and putting together events like this came to us and said, make sure you get testimonials and everything. They honestly, we didn't need to do that. They just kept coming to us, and people were coming into our storefronts, sending us messages, giving us all phone calls, and just stopping by and saying, oh my gosh, look what you've put together. So with you just saying that it hasn't been like that since the 50s, honestly, we recognized that after the fact. I don't think we had as much knowledge going into it. We were just kind of having fun and trying to help all the other businesses along with ourselves, but seeing the impact that it made, it gave us even more drive to put together more events. And so really the community is the reason that we kind of pushed forward and wanted to keep doing more. So yeah, thank you.
I hope that we find a way of getting this information out to people, but just one example, Crystal Dragon, a fairly new store, but it's been here, I want to say, what, 2-3 years? And I know our grandkids and great grands spent most of their time in there, couldn't get them out. 200% above average sales, the best day since opening.
Yeah.
And there's all these comments have the same message. So thank you again very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Our next presentation is Diane Booker, President of the Grey Bruce Federations of Agriculture, and we'll have an update from Diane. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm here today just to give you an update on some agriculture in Grey County and just what the Grey County Federation of Agriculture does in the county. So this is a picture of my farm. My husband and I live on Grey Road 12, just as you go up the escarpment. And that's a picture of our cows out on pasture last summer. So Grey County Federation was formed in 1940 and work on the local level to represent the voice of the farmers in Ontario. That the 1,500 is a little short. We have 1,600 members as of 2022. And we act as the county affiliate to the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, which has 3,800 members. GCFA works to advance agriculture in the rural community through partnerships, education, and advocacy. We work with OFA to provide lobby efforts and resources for the local members. OFA, the provincial arm of our organization, has highly skilled farm policy research staff working diligently on our behalf, and they're very much working on Bill 23, as you people are probably working on Bill 23 too. We have regular monthly meetings. We host an MP, an MPP, and a local politicians meeting, which I think you've all been invited to on March 25th, and it will be in Katy. And a big part of that meeting will be about Bill 23. So hopefully you can all attend that. We have information meetings for our members. We have shed talks. We host all candidates meetings. We have an annual ag review paper that goes out to all the rural community in Grey County. We're affiliated with Farm and Food Care Ontario and Agscape. We run an annual elementary public schools speaking contest, and we have sometimes up to 30 children that come, and they don't have to do an agriculture speech, but we listen to their speeches and they're judged. We also have it's called Education Trivia on our webpage for students in both elementary and secondary school. And there was a prize at the end of the year for the student that answered the most questions on that. We have social events. We had a successful bonspiel in Markdale on Saturday. We are planning to go to the races in Hanover, and it'll be an egg night there. We are also planning Member Day at Storybook Park. And then in September, we are partnering with Roberts Farm Equipment and Kubota, and we're bringing Gord Bamford. He will be in Meaford on September 23rd, and then in Newstead on September 24th. So just the economic contributions in 2021, this is out of the 2021 census. The local agri-food sector employs 8,000, oh, did I skip one? Yeah, right there, sorry. 8,210 people through 2,243 local agri-food business establishments. And the total farm receipts for Grey County are 558 million. So just for provincial stats, there are 200 different farm, food, and floral products in Ontario that generate 750,000 jobs and contribute to more than 47 billion annually in the provincial economy. So then in Grey County, we have a total of 2,178 farms, a total farm land area of 449,000 acres. The average farm size is 206 acres. And then the large farming industry is cattle farming, grains and oilseeds, and dairy. So Grey County supports the Ontario Federation provincial priorities, which are farmland preservation. And we are losing about 319 acres per day of farmland to just growth, and we're just losing it. So that's prime farmland. Once it gets concreted, it can't go back to farmland. So that's one of the provincial priorities is farmland preservation. Then climate change, mental health and awareness, reliable broadband internet. And I know that Grey County, we've had some put in down West Grey area and into the Hanover area. We need some more. And then some more. And natural gas, updating just the energy grid and having affordable energy for everyone in Grey County. And our three priorities are membership engagement, youth and farming, and healthy farm and environment. So we support the 4-H program in Grey County heavily, and the junior farmers. The junior farmers are sponsoring one of the, it's the Knights, right? The Meaford Knights. They're supporting one of their games next week or the week after for the mental health night. And we have partnered with them to help them with that. So our professional team is ready to help. If you have any questions or anything, you can give me a call and we can try to work through stuff. Our office is, our administrator is Jackie Pennings. We have an OFA zone director who is Paul Vickers. And there is an OFA member service representative and her name is Joanne Hughes, and their contact information is right there on that slide. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Diane.
And if anyone has any questions,
yes.
I'd be happy to answer if I can. And
Alderman, sorry. Councillor Tony.
I'm glad you're sitting beside me. Thank you, Diane, for coming out. A few years ago, you get to talk to a lot of people, but you personally helped myself with my farm business registration number. And at that time when Mr. Vickers was on council, he also helped me. And that stream went down to the Meaford office. And I have to say that the entire group that are involved in that were very helpful. And things from my aspect went along absolutely peachy. So thank you for that. On another note, on one of your slides, you brought up the mental aspect of the farming community. And I sit on the Grey County Farm Safety Association. And I'll make a further announcement of this later on today in council. But this publication that we've got here, the Safety Association is adopting the farm safety and the mental aspect of what farming families go through between their finances, the equipment breakdown, the stock changing, weather, and just not enough hours in the day. And so it's a big deal. And I'm glad you included that on your list. And anyway, just plain thank you for what you do.
thank you.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you. Pardon me. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Diane. Thanks for reminding us how important agriculture is in our area and in our county. I have a couple of questions. They might be a little difficult for you. If you can't answer them, that's fine because they're fairly specific. You mentioned the agri-food sector employment being over 8,000. Does that include the offshore workers who come in seasonally? Are they included in those numbers? Do you know?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if they get included in that or not.
Oh, okay, I know that's a tough one, and
But I can probably find out
if
for you.
it's not included, it would up that number considerably.
Mhm.
The other question I had was the size of farms, 206 acres. Now, does that refer to how many acres an individual farmer owns, or how many acres an individual farmer works? Because again, there may be pretty different.
I don't know. I think it's what they own because it was the cent, but no, they could put rented land on the census too. I'll have to,
Okay.
I can look that up too.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just once again, thanks for everything. And agriculture is still, thank goodness, very alive and in most cases very well in our area. And let's keep that going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Yes, I'll echo that, Donna. Thank you very much for the great work the organization does. I do have a question, and again, if you can't answer it, no, not going to put your feet to the fire. Meaford obviously being our aging demographic, we're a little older than most. Grey County, I know we're have a bit of that as well. I just wonder if you have any transparency on
of the farmers that are in Grey County. And again, is that prevalently older? Are we attracting younger? Is there an attraction and retention program part of that kind of thrust of the organization? And do we have any idea of just kind of where we sit on a mean average of our farmers' ages?
Well, the provincial average it's in that 50s zone. So, but I don't know if there's any transparent numbers of what I guess on the census they would have put what their ages are, but I didn't look up any of that information for today.
Any other questions? If not, I just have a short one, if I may, Diane. The amount of farmland going out of production and into development was an issue during the election campaign, and to me, it wasn't quite 200 acres back in the fall when we were talking about this, and so I'm wondering, is it actually 200 acres per day? And also, you talked about prime agricultural land. Yeah, it would seem that I can understand a lot of rural land, that is land that is, in the country, but not necessarily our best land going. But is it actually a fact that that 200 acres of prime agricultural land is being, consumed daily by development?
I don't know that if it is prime, but just agricultural land, it's still important. There's pasturing cows and there's other things that can happen on the marginal land then. And if we lose all the pastures, then we won't have place to pasture cows and livestock, not just cows, livestock in particular. But it's 319 is the new number that they've come up with.
Okay.
They have that it's so many football fields, and I don't know if it's not, on the farmland preservation, they have a great presentation of what it is really taking out of production.
We used to worry about the Niagara Peninsula, but we have to start worrying about Southern Georgian Bay. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity today to speak to you.
We also have one virtual deputation today on the agenda, and it has to do with the bylaw on 2023 fees and charges. So Mario Thomas is joining us virtually. Can you hear me, Mario?
Yes, I can, Ron. Thank you.
Oh, you're loud and clear. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I've asked to address council today because as both a resident of Meaford and a business person, I'm concerned by the potential impact of some of the fees in the bylaw on fees and charges that would be discussed and voted on during today's council meeting. The municipality of Meaford has an important objective of stimulating the economy. Ratepayers like me welcome this because a stronger economy may in the future mitigate tax increases for residents. The bylaw for fees and charges, which is on the table today, includes concerning hikes for planning fees that can be seen in section C, page 33 onward. I'm afraid the increases in the planning fees may cause target developers to look at municipalities other than Meaford that requests lower fees. The Meaford bylaw 2023 shows in planning fees increases of 100%, 500%, and up to 1,000% for some requests. What can justify such hikes? And are they wise if we want to stimulate the economy? These hikes risk causing economic developers to look elsewhere to municipalities that are more reasonable with their planning fees. I personally did a cursory research of fees charged by other municipalities of similar size and found that their fees for the same or similar requests are lower than the fees requested by Meaford. So today, I have three simple questions to the council members. One, before voting on this resolution today, have you seen a thorough comparative analysis of the planning fees amongst a basket of comparable municipalities? Two, if the justification to increase planning fees so dramatically is that in previous years we were undercharging the real cost, why is that our internal work and process have become so expensive over recent years? Third, members of the council, would one of you consider an amendment asking an internal review and in-depth comparative analysis of the planning fees before they can be considered for approval at a subsequent council meeting once the analysis has been performed and published? Thank you very much for your attention.
And thank you, Mario, for a direct and a good deputation to us. Thank you for your time today. Does anyone have a question, Mario, before we let him go? Seeing none, thank you again. And is the sun shining in Leith today?
It is. We have blue sky and 3 degrees Celsius.
Very good. Thank you again. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So that completes the public portion of the agenda. Now on to council inquiries. Do we have any inquiries today? And I am seeing none. So moving on to motions and bylaws and our consent agenda. There are 3 items on the consent agenda, including the first, the 2023 fees and charges bylaw, of which we were just speaking. Also recreation fund policy and stop, close up and quit claim of part lot 10 concession 1 St. Vincent. Council, what is your pleasure? Are we can vote on this in one motion, or they can be one or another can be separated out for further discussion. Councillor Tony.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to have a little more discussion on the fees and charges, please.
All right, any others? Do we think maybe need a motion to consider that?
No, Mr. Mayor, once somebody's asked for it to be considered separately, it just automatically can be, but we need a mover and a seconder for the other items on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Then over to you, Councillor.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, we need to deal with the other items on the consent agenda first.
Pardon. Okay, I need a mover and seconder to move items B and C, the recreation fund policy and the quit claim on concession 1 St. Vincent. Moved by Councillor Uhrig, seconded by Councillor Forder. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? It's passed. Now returning to item A, 2023 fees and charges. Do you want to speak to your motion?
A mover and a seconder to get on the table, please,
Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
a seconder then, Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with the caller that we listened to, I think this is an opportunity for members of staff to say out loud what the caller had read, and I'm looking on our package on page 34. And some of the big numbers, of course, are our official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendments and so on. And I think this is an opportunity when our caller said about looking at other areas of other municipalities, and they are much lower. And we have previously looked through our councillor package, and we also saw the increases of percentages like our guest caller mentioned. So, Mr. Mayor, at this time, I would ask that maybe a little bit of background information may be expressed by some member of senior staff.
Are you going to handle that, Mr. Voigt?
Through your worship. Yeah, there was, I think primarily the comments that were noted by the gentleman online was about the planning fees. Kind of in reverse order, I'll note that as the counselor had mentioned, that there are fees related to major scale, mid-scale and minor scale projects. In general terms, of course, the major scale involve more work and therefore are some of the larger fees. I'm just going to highlight, there are a few bullet points. I'll quickly skim over them so we understand what a major scale project is. We see few of these, but it's good to know. So for site plan subdivision and pre-consultation, that's 80 or more residential units, 3,500 square meters or more of non-residential gross floor area, a mix of residential and non-residential with gross floor area over 4,000 square meters, an official plan amendment for sites located in the Meaford Heritage District, zoning bylaw amendments, site plan subdivision pre-consultation for sites located in the heritage conservation districts that have 40 or more residential units, a mix of uses with 3,000 square meters or more, requires servicing extensions across neighboring properties or for a length of over 100 meters, is identified in either of the following in the official plan, either special policy areas or the secondary plan area, and if the project includes the development of a public park or municipal road, and then goes on for a few more other things. Those are big projects. So that gives you a sense of the scale issues of what we're talking about in terms of how that relates to, let's say, a minor scale, which is less than 80 residential units, less than all those measures they'd identified, not in any kind of kind of air quotes special identified area in the official plan, and is more of a kind of a matter of fact kind of development where you're just looking at, oh, they're just doing what we would expect of them. There's no new infrastructure that the municipality is going to be responsible for. It's just people doing things on their land. Now, in terms of the analysis of what, and I'm just pulling it up here. So we did not do a thorough comparative analysis with other municipalities. The rationale behind this is that we took a look at what it takes for us to do what we do. We're not selling a product as such, and to where people are shopping around to see where they will develop based on the fees for doing a development review. Quite frankly, having been in the development industry and that, given the scale of the kinds of projects we're talking about, that is a bit of a trope. Nobody makes a decision on a $20 million project because your fees are 10,000 or 20,000 more here or there on something. It's just not a thing. If your market can sustain the kind of development that's coming, then it makes sense for the market forces. Does that mean as a developer you wouldn't want it to be less? Of course. It's an input that it costs money and it has to be passed on to the eventual purchaser or renter, or if it's a business, you've got to make that up in what you're selling. So I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying it's perhaps overstated. I have not seen evidence that people will go from one community to another based on the fees. When we do, if council were to ask to do a comparative analysis, staff can do that. I'd want clarification on what the comparables are. Size of community is irrelevant in terms of this. We need to talk workload, type and character of development, the tools we have available, and all the other things that are ongoing and what we have. It does not matter that another community is the same geographic size or the same population. We need to go look at what is their staff complement, what tools they have, what projects are they looking at, and compare that. Otherwise, it is not apples to apples. In terms of us doing our cost of business, we identified all the things that are typical, and I think I mentioned this last time and rattled off. I've got the list in front of me here, about 58 steps, regardless of how simple an application is. And then where that extra cost comes into is these 7 characteristics that we analyzed, which was the amount of planning staff in terms of weeks, the development services director in terms of weeks, that's my time. If there was a report involved in this, because some of these applications, there's no report, either a report to council or to committee of adjustment. And for the folks that are watching, committee of adjustment happens in this room, and it's kind of like a tiny town council. It has the same issues with multiple staff being there. We've got to notice it. We run it very similar to a council meeting. It has all the same kind of characteristics with slightly different obligations and legal framework. But from a workload, it looks the same. Other reports are in terms of if it's a site plan, we have to have a decision that needs to be written as well. If there's a public meeting or a public information center involved, that's also identified in each one of those and the time allotted to that. Then there's my time at a council meeting, if necessary for the approval. And then we have other staff involved and their weeks of time, as well as, and this is only one type of meeting that we have identified. We essentially have a development team that comes together, which are representatives from essentially all the departments that relate to any new development. So at any time, a meeting like that, you can have anywhere between 4 to 12 people, depending on how complex it is. And so allotting for how many of those kinds of meetings are necessary. So if you recall back what I was saying about the larger projects, you have 2, 3, 4 of those. You know, if you have one meeting for 1 hour with 8 people in it, that is a full workday of time that's allotted. So you add all those things up. That's how we get the numbers we do. I can't speak to how we previously did these calculations. I know that these are more important now so that we can attribute the right resources to it, because we don't want to fall behind and have to give back fees because of the new legislation. We can provide further analysis if that is what council would seek to do. But then I'm going to ask for clear description on what council thinks the comparators are and what it is that we're measuring against each other. I don't want to have a circumstance where I'm trying to measure distance with a thermometer. These need to be comparable and not just based on geographic size or population or how many vowels are in the name of their town, quite frankly. I want the same staffing complement to be compared in terms of workload. Otherwise, I think we're doing a disservice to the people we're trying to provide a service to and what they're paying for. Happy to answer any other questions.
Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Mayor Kettner. 2 weeks ago, I too was dissatisfied with the rate increases. I asked the question, same question that Mr. Thomas has asked, and staff told me the answer. And we all received an email today as councillors to see, and it shows you the amount of work goes into one project, which is probably a major project. And staff has told me that that's what the true cost is. I asked that 2 weeks ago, and I'm quite happy with their answer, and I support this. Thank you.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Voigt. If the fees that we charge do not reflect the cost for our planners to do a complete research on a project, then who has to make up the shortfall here? I suspect over the course of the year that would come out of the taxpayers. I know a little over a year ago, just as an example, over at Gray Sabo, we had Watson and Associates do an evaluation of the planning fees over there. And they said, hey, you gotta get them up substantially. And it was quite a shock, but it made sense. Every dollar was accounted for, and I'm certain that that same situation is factual here in our municipality.
I don't see any other questions. If I may, Mr. Voigt, would you consider Collingwood, which is a slightly, certainly, I guess, almost half as large population, and probably smaller geography, but we think in terms of Collingwood, Town of Blue Mountains, and Meaford. So, would you consider Collingwood to be a reasonable comparator?
Your worship, first blush, I would say yes. So Town of the Blue Mountains, I would say no, likely, just in terms of complexity of files.
Yeah, I couldn't find Town of Blue Mountains, but I did see that we were roughly speaking $2,000 to $3,000 higher than Collingwood on letters on major projects, medium projects. So I don't believe that people are going to choose the municipality they're going to work in based on the cost of a letter here. But I just wondered if this was a comparable that we might look at. And the second question, if I may, and that is, what about for just a single dwelling? I have no idea, but I've heard complaints about the cost of permitting for a single dwelling. What might it cost?
So I can't tell you what it might cost because that's the building permit fee.
Okay.
So there is, unless there's something specific about, let's say they have a variance they need to get or whatever, but for a detached dwelling, you're just paying building permit fees. There's not a planning application necessarily required for that.
Does
So
anyone have any thoughts on just, what it costs to permit for a single family
well, it
building?
depends on the size of the building and the construction methods and all that, and it's calculated based on that.
Okay.
So the bigger the home, the more complex it is, the types of construction and that, and the cost for it means that there's different kinds of inspections that need to be done, and it's just a calculation based on that valuation, which is what it's always been.
There's no average or any number that can be thrown out. No. Okay, thank you. If see no other discussion, we'll call the vote. All in favor of I need to be sure what we're voting on. It's to accept the report, right? Okay, and I declare that
So
carried.
to pass the bylaw, these fees having now been voted on take effect immediately. And so they will be in place as of tomorrow for anybody who walks into the municipal offices.
Okay, thank you for that. So I believe we're on to items for consideration. And the first is to appoint a municipal bylaw officer. The second, and we take these individually, correct? Yes, okay. So the recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2023-13 being a bylaw to appoint a municipal law enforcement officer be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Any discussion? We have to move that.
A move
Sorry,
and a second,
and
please,
seconder.
yeah.
Sorry, okay. Moved by Councillor Greenfield, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? The second one is pre-budget approval, provision of engineering services for structure bridge number 001 rehabilitation. And the recommendation is that we direct staff to amend the draft budget to increase the budget for project TS 2023-01 from $461,000 to $478,210. Direct staff to amend the draft budget to decrease the transfer to reserves for future bridge capital projects from $217,210 to $200,000. And third, provide pre-budget approval for project TS 2023-10, bridge number 001, rehabilitation in the amount of $478,000. So we've got that on the table. Successfully. Please, yeah, okay, mover and seconder to get it on the table. Councillor Porter, Councillor Bartley, all in favor? Yeah. Okay, all right. So discussion on this matter. Thank you. Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Mayor Kentner. I was looking for a little bit of education on this. One, this is just fixing a culvert. It's not replacing the culvert. Is that correct? And is that not something we could do internally with our staff? Is that? I've been to the culvert. I know the bridge. I fished the bridge. I've fished the culvert. There is good fish in it. But we have the equipment. We could do this. Could we not?
Through your worship. So this particular project will include welding expertise, which we don't have staff in-house that do that type of work. As well, just this isn't included in our operating timeline. So we don't have the staff time to complete this work. So this is a part of our bridge capital projects that we budget for annually. So that is how we are currently doing the work, partly because we don't have the full expertise needed and we don't have the time with the amount of staff that we currently have.
Okay, thank you. So are we digging this culvert up, opening it up and welding it, or are we doing everything from inside?
My understanding is that we're able to do it without touching any of the earth around it. So we would all be interior work. So the traffic over the bridge won't be negatively impacted during the construction.
Yeah, so I'm really having a hard time. $500,000 to do some welding on a culvert. I really shocks me. Having said that, we received an email from another company that said that they were a lower bidder on the work for this. Can somebody explain that to me?
Yes. So for our engineering proposals, the process is through our purchasing department is that staff review the proposals and provide a mark to them. And then from there, proposals that have a specific mark or higher proceed to the second envelope opening, where we then open the price that they have submitted with that work. In the review of these, my understanding is that some didn't have a scope that we felt would necessarily get the work done that we needed done for this specific bridge location. And so only 3 of the proposals were identified as being acceptable. And so we only opened the pricing envelope for 3 of the bidders on this project.
May I ask, is that a standard procedure?
Yes, this is what we do for all of our engineering proposals as well. Once we do open the pricing, it is a combination of the proposal marks as well with the pricing that we then combine to get the overall score. And then the person with the highest score is the one we award the report or the work to.
Yeah, just to elaborate, this process is outlined in our purchasing bylaw approved by council. So it's all detailed in that process. There are some concerns about the approach that council may have received, and particularly even violation of some other sections of the bylaw with regard to how things proceed post. Just a reiteration that this resolution is not to award it to a company. It's just to give pre-budget approval because we don't have our budget passed, and also increasing the amount as identified by the 17,000. It's increases, yeah, 17,000 or something like that. Normally, council wouldn't even be involved if the budget was approved and the budget had already been adjusted. You wouldn't even be involved in this process based on the purchasing policy again.
Deputy Mayor Keaveney.
Thank you, Your Worship. And a question for you, Tori, if I may. And again, this comes out of the email that council received from TSI Inc. It is suggested that the subject project, a simple steel coverage built in 2003, which has prematurely experienced some deterioration due to incorrect methods of construction. I just wondered, in relation to that in general, what kind of inspection process do we have when a job such as this is completed to make sure that a situation like this does not occur prematurely?
So just two pieces. First of all, so every 2 years, as you're aware, we have the OSIM inspections on our bridges. In 2022, we had a new successful proponent who is now doing our OSIM inspection. So a different engineering firm. They do the inspections for us over 5 years so that we have some consistency with those inspections. But we are seeing consistency. So from the recommended work from what they were seeing previously to what we are seeing now, with obviously some tweaks. So we trust that this work is what is needed. With regards to the inspection, on some of the smaller projects and some of the rehabs, we have less inspection because it is less work and we are trying to make best use of the dollars that we have. But we do ensure that the engineer is there to see the important work to make sure that it is happening properly. On our larger projects, especially our full reconstructions, we'd have an inspector on site at all times to make sure that the work is proceeding as we would expect, and so that we get the best outcome as possible.
Thank you, Your Worship. And just to follow up then, Tori, and just for clarification, so on a project such as this, when the project is completed, there wouldn't necessarily be an engineer coming back to look at the welding and the work that was done to make sure that it was the highest quality?
Through Your Worship, no, we would have an inspector. They might not be on site while the entire work is occurring, but we would have them on site to make sure that they are inspecting those key parts of the project, especially at the end once the work is completed.
Any other questions? That's Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Mayor Kentner, and through you to Director Victoria. If we, when we do this work, and it seems like we have to, around $450,000, do we have any idea when we might have to come back and do more work? Do we have a guarantee, or at least some kind of a guarantee, that this is going to prolong the life of this structure for many years, or is indeed the next time going to be a full replacement? Do we have any number, any dates?
Through Your Worship, so our OSIM Bridge inspections look at a 10-year horizon to identify which bridges need rehabilitation or replacement within that time frame. We do work to make sure that bridges that have different components that need work done, that we complete the work together if it makes sense timing wise. So this bridge, this work that is needed would extend or can allow the bridge to have a longer life than if we didn't do it. And there's potentially availability to do further rehabs to continue to extend the life, but we'll have to see that as the bridge continues in its life and deterioration, as sometimes different types of weather, different types of uses can cause different types of deterioration. So the intention of this is to continue to extend the life, and potentially there would be an availability for further rehabs, or the next step could be a replacement in the future, but there is no other work within the 10-year horizon right now on this bridge.
Thank you for that. And just a little side thought. This culvert is 20 years old, approximately, and I didn't like coming to this conclusion, but when I looked at it, This is very similar to a couple of situations out on Walters Creek. And we have often said, hey, those couple of bridges out there could be replaced by culverts. This is a 20-year-old culvert. Maybe we need more thought into that replacement. Thanks.
Councillor Forder.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. Just a simple question. If this culvert is experiencing premature deterioration due to incorrect methods of construction, does the company who did the work bear any responsibility with regards to the condition of it? Thank you.
Through your worship, I know that those words were written. I don't think they bear any weight necessarily. It is common that bridges throughout their life need rehabilitation just from age of the structure, and the benefit of the rehab is that it extends the bridge longer. If you don't do the rehab, the deterioration will speed up the deterioration of the bridge, and then we would need to replace it sooner. All structures over time deteriorate, and so I understand that was written to council, that there was incorrect installation. We as staff aren't aware of that. This is just typical rehabilitation that is required at a certain point in the lifespan of the bridge. As well, yes, installation methods have improved over time. So potentially this was the correct method at the time of install, and maybe those things have changed. But yeah, I couldn't say that necessarily is correct wording that you were provided.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I could just add to that, just a note of caution to council, as always, that anything we say here isn't under any privilege legally. So making statements like poor workmanship was done before, if the previous installer were to be watching this and were to be unhappy about that statement, we could be in some legal jeopardy.
Thank you for that, Mr. Clerk. Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor Kentner. A question to our clerk. If council this afternoon does not raise their hands to approve a pre-budget approval on this item, because it's pre-budget, this I'm assuming would be back regular budget meeting for discussion. Am I correct?
It would. Obviously, it would delay the work being started, and depending on how long the budget process takes, it may delay us to a stage where the price that we've been offered by the engineering consultant wouldn't apply anymore, because they only have to guarantee that for a set period of time. That a look at Val, is that 60 days? 60 days. So it is likely to be more than 60 days between the close of the RFP and when the budget is awarded. So that's why this has to be done now if you want the work to go ahead. If you were to wait until the budget was passed, then it's likely we'd have to RFP the engineering services a second time.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to add as well, this project, we're looking to get the engineering and construction done this year. And so that's why we're making sure the proposal got out early so that we could complete the engineering work. And then once it is complete, we would then go out to tender to get a contractor to actually proceed with the construction. So if we aren't able to move forward at this time, I don't see that we would have enough time to complete the construction this year.
Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Mayor Kentner. And I'm just curious about the process again. I'm not here to change the process, but so you get all the tenders and this tender doesn't meet criteria on your scale, so you set it aside. It could have been within 2 points of it. I'd open every envelope. And I'd like to see the price. You're not allowed to do that? No?
I believe through our purchasing policy, there is a qualifying number per se, and then anything after that, we don't open because we aren't allowed to know those numbers. So even our purchasing agent doesn't know the balances on the ones that did not qualify.
Is that a Meaford bylaw or is that an Ontario bylaw?
It's, through your worship, it's quite common in a purchasing bylaw to have a two-step process where you first evaluate qualified proponents of a proposal, and then the tender is open, or the price is opened as a second part of the process. It is quite common throughout Ontario and included in purchasing bylaws as a two-step process.
Just for clarity, I'd like to ask, the issue here is that we estimated the tender lower than the tenders we received, or our engineer estimated the price of the project at less than what the tenders came in.
So so our tender, or our budget numbers were 461, and the tender came in at 55,000 for the engineering. However, the OSIM's report, and I did question this, the OSIM's report only gives, and Tori will correct me if I'm wrong, only gives a portion. So we're asking for engineering on the design and during the construction. OSIM's only gives us during the design. So the construction part is additional to that $39,000.
Thanks, that's helpful, I think. I see a few perplexed looks, and I'm because this has been kind of a tough one. I'll ask just one more question, if I may. I sense that there's a feeling on the part of staff that the letter council received was in some way inappropriate. Could you explain that, in what way it is?
One of the elements in the purchasing policy is that proponents are banned under that policy, which has been adopted by council, from lobbying, and that might be lobbying staff and that might be lobbying council, because it seems to give those proponents an unfair advantage to try and persuade you that they are the best option, when you of course haven't seen their engineering qualifications or the bid that they've put together, and so on, for exactly this reason, because otherwise councils in the past, in many other jurisdictions, have said you need to use this firm instead, and that can end very badly.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Okay. Seeing no other discussion at this point, and raise your hand if you have any more questions. If not, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Okay, it's carried. Thank you. So now it's time to move into committee of the whole. And we need a mover and seconder to do that. Moved by Councillor Forder and seconded by Councillor Bartley. All in favor? And the first item is an alcohol licensing policy. The recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford enact a bylaw to adopt an alcohol licensing policy. So we need that on.
A move and a seconder, please. Yes.
Sorry, moved by Councillor Greenfield, seconded by Deputy Mayor Keaveney. All in favor?
No, sorry, not
Okay,
all in
no.
favor. We need to have some discussion
Okay.
first.
So this is on the table. You'd like to speak to it, Councillor Bartley?
Thank you, Mayor Kentner. So again, the province is dumping work onto us. When somebody applies for a license, was AGCO, would they charge them a fee for that? And are we allowed to charge a fee for doing this?
So no, AGCO didn't charge a fee, and I have checked with them and they have said that they're not intending to, even in the locations where they're still doing this, but we are entitled to, and in the fees and charges bylaw that you've just passed, we have added a fee for this, I think $200, because we need at least to cover the cost of doing the inspection and some administrative time.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Seeing no further, question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I didn't read this as specifically, but my understanding would be, my own answer to it would be yes. Say a company wants to have a celebration of longevity. You want an alcohol license. They come into the municipality. It's the municipality that renders that charge to them. And they're the ones that would approve a company having a private celebration, but you need an alcohol license.
So no, that's not the case. This does not apply to special occasion permits. It does not apply to any sort of permanent licensing. It only applies to existing licensees that wish to have an external patio for part of the year. If you want to have an external patio all year permanently, that's still through AGCO. This is for situations like any of our downtown restaurants who want to have a patio between May and October on the street. They would have to apply to us to do that. But if you wanted to do it permanently, if you want a special occasion permit for an event, that still goes through AGCO.
You ready for the vote? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And next, recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford enact a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 60-2009 of the Municipality of Meaford pertaining to 143610 Side Road 15 to approve a request from the property owner to change the property zone to allow for a custom workshop of 293 square meters with an ancillary retail use. I have a mover and seconder. Councillor Tony, Councillor Steve. All in favor? I think we know we don't have to do that. That's after. Yes, okay. Go ahead there, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor Kentner. I'm glad to see this going through. I was personally involved in it when it was happening, and there was different bylaws then, and things have changed, and I'm really happy to see this going through and this fella can get on with his life. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments, all in favor? Passed, thank you. Now, memos, delegated authority, 2022 fourth quarter. That also, does that require a motion or no? Okay. Then updates from County Council and other boards and committees. Deputy Mayor, do you have an update for us?
Thank you, Your Worship, I do. Grey County Council met last Thursday, February the 9th. A committee of the whole started with unanimous support for Councillor Barbara Jo Breen from Southgate, whose desire was to put her application forward to be considered for a director's position on the AMO board. And that will be decided through delegate voting at the AMO conference this August in London. Councillor McQueen had given a notice of motion the prior meeting to reconsider the timing of the rebuild of Grey Gables, but that motion has been moved until the February 23rd agenda. Andrew Gregan, representing a company called ORH, a consulting firm from the United Kingdom, delivered a very detailed, in-depth presentation regarding a proposed 10-year plan for the delivery of paramedic services in Grey County. Considering the population growth the county is experiencing and anticipating, additional resources will be needed to meet the demands of the added call volume. In 2024, 12-hour shifts will be added to Owen Sound and Hanover stations. In 2025, it is suggested that a 12-hour shift be added to Meaford, along with a new ambulance location in Feversham. Additional 12-hour shifts would be added in 2027, 2029, 2031, and 2033 in Owen Sound, Durham, and Craigleith. The demand is expected to increase 5.8% on average over each of the 10 years of the master plan. Existing resources obviously just cannot meet the call volume, particularly for the more serious life-threatening situations. Three main factors are impacting the need to reassess paramedic service: total population change, our aging population, and an increasing demand rate per head. Our paramedic service will now have the benefit of ABSIM, which is a simulation model which simulates the entire life cycle of an emergency incident. It can be used to test a what-if scenario. The goal is for an ambulance to reach a CTAS 4, which is a life-threatening situation, within 8 minutes in an urban area or 15 minutes in a rural area. It was determined that our current ambulance bases are in the right location. Additional resources will be phased in over the next 10 years, as I referenced above. Terms of reference were provided for the new Agricultural Advisory Committee. Membership will be increased from last term with 5 public members, 5 agricultural organizational members, and 4 members of county council plus the warden. This is an incredibly interesting committee. I learned a great deal from this group last term, and I'm delighted to have been selected as a member again. The Twin Bridges, as was referenced by Councillor Greenfield a few minutes ago, 21 and 22 in Bogner were discussed through a staff report that was delivered to council for information purposes only. These bridges have been closed, as we well know, for 6 years plus as the result of a structure inspection. And as we know, the bridges are located on the deviation line between Meaford and Chatsworth. Normally, when a bridge of 20 feet or more is located on a boundary road, it becomes the responsibility of the county through bylaw 737, which dates back to 1909. The complication is that Meaford has always maintained these bridges, and it wasn't known until the bridges were closed that other parties should have been involved, being Chatsworth and the county. County staff's position is that the bridges were not built by the county, nor were they ever maintained by the county, so there is no desire to accept ownership now on their part. So this leaves us in a situation where we need to come back and discuss these bridges, and I look forward to our own staff bringing us a report with their recommendations for next steps. So that was it, Your Worship, unless you wanted to add anything about the education session.
I think all I want to add is that, I believe this is not over yet concerning the bridges. We are very concerned, spoke to that at the meeting, and I certainly will, and I'm sure the deputy mayor will be working closely with staff on next steps.
Absolutely.
Are there any other boards or committees wish to report? Councillor Bell?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So I attended the Grey County Farm Safety on February the 7th. A lot more participation from members that were in attendance. We had 10 people. We've got some new faces around the boardroom, and more people who are not simply members of council that have come out to be around. One of the things that Farm Safety does every year is a poster contest for young people. And we were told at the last meeting that we've already got 600 students that have registered to participate in doing farm safety posters. This year, the categories, if you're in grades 1 and 2, farm safety, animals. Grades 3 to 5, lawn and garden equipment. And for the older students up to grade 8, farm and industrial equipment involving planting and the harvest season. Because I'm on that board, I'm at liberty to do a little preemptive advertising. On March the 30th, there's going to be an invitation sent out to every mayor in our entire Grey County for the mayor and deputy mayor to attend an open house, if you will, a meet and greet, followed by a nice meeting where we're going to have 2 presentations. One's going to be a presentation on what Grey County's Farm Safety Association is all about. And the other one I alluded to earlier on in today's council meeting is on mental well-being in the agricultural sector. So there's a publication which Farm Safety has adopted. It's called Rooted in Strength. And with a little liberty, Mr. Mayor, I would like to read just a really quick preamble. What's the one piece of machinery that we can't do without on your daily farming operation? Most people answered and said their tractor. Farmers know that working machinery needs to be maintained so it stays working well. Human body can be compared to running a piece of machinery. Your brain is like the motor in your tractor. Your organs and limbs are similar to the tires and moving parts. Your body also requires fuel. For some reason, though, we're far more prone to take care of our farm machinery rather than to take care of ourselves. And so this we've adopted. Our guest speaker is going to speak on the pressures that farming families undergo. And the farming community is one that stays very quiet. They have an internal resolve to try and tough things out, but there are many, many who need help. And there are options for them. And so if the mayor and deputy mayor cannot make this invitation, we're requesting that alternates be sent. And we want the city of Owen Sound and the town of Hanover to know what we're about, because they are surrounded by an agricultural community. And so anyway, it was a really good meeting. And I look forward to meeting the mayors and deputy mayors or alternates that come. And there will be a presentation on two fronts. So thank you.
Councillor Bell, what was the date of that event again?
March the 30th at 5:30. And if printed literature arrives that says differently, I'll have to amend it when I can.
Okay. And the location?
At the Grey County office.
Okay.
And it is in the boardroom for the memorial to Lloyd Mitchell. So that's the room. It's called the Lloyd Mitchell Memorial Room.
Thank you very much. Any other boards or committees to report? Seeing none, we'll move on. And it's time to move out of committee of the whole, and we're doing that at exactly 2:30 this afternoon. Need a mover and seconder for that. That moved by Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor Forder. All in favor? Is there any councillor motions? Notice of motion? Don't believe there are any. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to speak with your permission to the notice of motion that I brought forward at our last council meeting. With the usual process, that motion would have been on today's agenda, but I wanted to explain why the delay of that. The motion has gone out for a legal review. Therefore, it will come back to us on the 27th of February. And that was my notice of motion regarding council's potential support for the proposed TC energy pump storage project with a number of stipulations within the motion. So we will see that in 2 weeks. Thank you.
And I wonder if I could ask the CAO, might we hold that meeting at Meaford Hall, or is that a possibility?
Through Mr. Mayor, yes, we've arranged that today. So the meeting on the 27th will be able to be at Meaford Hall.
Okay. I think that's important for the public to know, and it's much larger facility for that meeting. So so now I'm looking for, there are no motions to vote on. I think we're moving right into adoption of minutes. We have the minutes of the council meeting January 30th and January 31st. The recommendation to approve those minutes. All in favor? Carried. Is there any comments or questions regarding communications received? Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm wondering if we could have Mr. Smith comment on it's number 15, I believe, on our communications, and it's concerning a notice of motion from the town of Petrolia concerning having the school boards become responsible for conducting their trustee elections. Can you give us a bit more information on that one, Mr. Smith, please?
I certainly can, through the chair, and well timed, because the mayor actually asked me this question a few days ago. To be honest, I pretty much completely disagree with what Petrolia Council has said. I think that the additional work of a school board election when we are already conducting an election is pretty minimal. We have to take in candidate registrations for one school board, and we have to give ballots out for all 4 school boards if they have an election. And of course, very rarely do all 4 do that. It would be incredibly confusing to the public if we were on an election and 4 different school boards were also running an election at exactly the same time. And I think that the money it would cost those school boards to run them, bearing in mind that for some they are vast areas of land. For our French public, Margaret may correct me, for our French public, we report our results down to Sarnia, because they cover basically the entirety of the southwestern portion of Ontario. For them to run an election here without us would be pretty close to impossible, I suspect. Obviously, if school boards wanted to give us some money, we will never say no, but I don't see that it's of particular consequence at this stage because the value of it's pretty small.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I think we're ready to adjourn. So going once, twice, 3 times. Thank you.